For those who seek adventure, this is the Buffalo Roamer Podcast, sharing the people, places, and moments that make a life on the loose worth living.
The thing that's going to stick out to you most is when they open up that plane door. The cold is something like you've never felt.
The jungle's so thick, even if you had a machete, you couldn't get through it.
There's a huge blonde grizzly bear. And when it saw us, this thing put its head down, stomped on the ground, and hissed like an alligator.
I just crossed this brutal stretch of desert, and I was really suffering.
I'm your host, Will Collins. I'm an adventurer, outdoorsman, and roamer of wild places. I've backpacked the Brooks Range, rafted the Grand Canyon, and have canoed from source to sea, both the Mississippi and Yukon rivers. I live for adventure, travel, fresh air, and diving into the unknown. And now, I hope to share my passion with you on the Buffalo Roamer Podcast. All right, here we go, episode 59. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you're subscribed if you're enjoying the podcast. That allows you to get all the latest episodes downloaded automatically. If you are enjoying the show, give us a 5-star rating and review in Apple Podcasts or Spotify. That helps us out, helps the show grow. So please do that if you're enjoying it. And you can find out more information at buffaloroamer.com. That's the website. Got all kinds of cool stuff on the website, buffaloroamer.com. Okay, today's episode, Marketa Daley. Marketa has quite the story. Her and her family, her husband, and 3 kids under 6, thru-hiked the Pacfic Crest Trail this year in 2022. That's right, Marketa and her husband took their 3 kids all under 6 on the Pacfic Crest Trail. What a story. So had a great time catching up with her. Her Instagram, if you want to check it out, is Daily Walk. That's at Daley Walk. Has quite a following on there and some great photos. So without further ado, episode 59 with Marketa Daley. Super stoked to talk with you today. You got an interesting story, hiking the PCT with the whole family and the young kids and the toddlers. So tell me a little bit about it and where you are now. I think it was you were hiking this year, right?
Yeah. We started March 16th and hiked for over like 5.5 months. Did 1,300 miles with our 3 really young kids, one of which was carried. He was like 2 when... well, he had his 2nd birthday on trail, and then our 3.5-year-old and our 5-year-old.
Awesome. That's amazing. And so you're on trail for 5.5 months. When did you get off trail?
About a month ago. Yeah, we made it to the border of Oregon and Washington. What
was the draw to do the PCT with the family, with the toddlers, and just in general? What was the pull for you and the family?
I think it was mainly just coming from the fact that having kids sometimes means that you give up a lot of what gives you purpose in life and gives your life meaning, because you feel that you're not able to do the things that make you happy anymore, because there are huge obstacles and things to adjust and learn with children. And me and my husband, ever since we met, we wanted to hike this trail together. And yeah, just felt like every year, we wanted to do it. And then we looked back on that year and we were like, wow, we should have tried. And finally this year we decided to, as crazy as it felt, I honestly didn't believe we would get anywhere, but it was just the fact that, this year it wouldn't be, we were too scared or discouraged by the fact that we have such young children. It would be like, okay, we went out, we tried it, and it didn't work out. And that seemed like a better option than to look back on the year and wonder if we could have done something to do what, made us happy. Yeah.
Amazing. And what, as an overarching kind of question, I guess, what were your anticipations going in? You laid out some of it there as the, kind of one foot in front of the other, or we'll see how this kind of goes. And now that you've been off trail for a month and you look back at the 5.5 months hiking across the country with your family, what was like, how did those things stack up? And I guess what's your overarching takeaway from those 5.5 months?
Oh, that I'm just glad that we did it, because my expectation was to, after we got the permit successfully, which was a mission in and of itself, really difficult to get the permits. And, after we gathered all the gear and, just looking at how heavy everything would be, and, we my expectation was really just, okay, we're gonna, go down to the Mexican border, stand at the terminus and literally decide there if it's actually a good idea, because it was so hard to just know how things would go. I mean, everything is so unpredictable with kids. I walk so much with them, and I know that hiking or like taking a walk to the store is, lots of crying, whining. I don't want to walk. I want to walk. I want to run. I don't, I want to go back home. So there's just constant emotions, and I couldn't really imagine what we were getting ourselves in for. And our hope was that, the longer we would spend out there, the easier it would get. And that's kind of what we found to be true. And I think that's true, not just for kids, but also for adults. I think a lot of thru hikers experience this, where just being out there, living, sleeping on the ground, hiking all day, every day is a huge adjustment. And, you question yourself a lot in those first couple days. And we experienced the same things. And having thru hiked 10 years ago myself, the Pacific Crest Trail, I knew that the beginning was the hardest, and making the decision to hike was the hardest. And
Totally.
Then things just kind of,
When was the moment that you realized, like, okay, this isn't going to be we've made it to the border, we're on the hike, and like you realize, like, okay, this could actually be a go, like we can do this, and maybe it's difficult and nothing's perfect, right? But was there a moment when you were like, okay, this could actually work?
Yeah, there was. It was day 7 that for some reason, that day was just nothing in particular happened. It was just wow, we're moving. We had made it to like a second resupply point. We were 40 miles in, and it was it just kind of dawned on me, like, wow, we're going really slow, but we're moving, and we're not running out of water, we're not running out of food. The kids, are kids still. They're not miserable, they're not, overly emotional. I didn't see any real difference between being out there than at home. It was it was incredible. It just kind of, from day 7, but in general, it was that day that, things kind of mentally changed.
How about for the kids? How, from mom's perspective, looking through the eyes of the kids, what do you think their perception of this trip is, or their I guess, we'll start there first. Like, how do you think they took the trip? And then I guess the next question I'll ask you is maybe like their growth or something, but how do you think they perceived the trip?
I think Yeah, I think it was the first week that they were genuinely confused why we were out there. It was, like we live at home with my parents, and so my parents are grandma and grandpa a part of their daily life. And they're the ones that took us down there to the southern terminus and dropped us off and said bye. And I just remember them multiple times crying and being like, I want to go home. Why did grandma and grandpa leave us here on this trail? Like, where did they go? Are they home? They were really confused. And it's fair because I was questioning everything as well. And yeah, I think afterwards things shifted because they experienced the incredible kindness of the people, through hikers and trail angels, that people who go out of their way to help you. We had so many people reach out to offer us a place to stay, to share a meal with us. The kids got to play with other people's children. They got to ride a horse and hiking. And I think they realized that, after the initial shock of, just like, wow, why are we hiking every day? They realized that this was a really, like, great adventure, with a lot of unique experiences for them that they wouldn't have been able to experience at home.
That's awesome. And I love too, we talked to a lot of people, and I've done a fair number of cool big trips myself. And it's always like, you always go out there thinking about, it's going to be about maybe yours is different and because it was a family aspect to it, but it's you're thinking it's going to be about, the PCT, the mountains, the trail, the desert, and then it's always the people, right? It's like the people you meet along the way that make the journey, almost 9 times out of 10. Is there any that come to mind where it was like super particularly heartwarming, or just like a funny coincidence, or any like trail magic story that particularly comes to mind?
Oh gosh, there's so many. There's so many. Literally every single town had. Uh, let's see. Well, a lady in Agua Dulce let the kids stay in her like trailer, which was this like super old school, very pink, had like flamingo pillows, and I mean the kids were like beyond excited. It was very extravagant and very extra and comfortable, and yeah, that was really cool. We also walked into a town, Wrightwood, after a huge town, and yeah, a car pulled up, and a guy, wanted to buy us food, buy us breakfast, and he spent some time with us, and that was just really special to yeah, after being out there completely miserable and trying to get to town and get warm, and yeah, it was just so welcoming. And stuff like that happened, I feel like, literally in every town.
Yeah, so cool. What were some of the unique challenges of doing this trip with your kids versus maybe when you did it the first time, without the young ones, or just as an average through hike?
I mean, definitely just like motivating the kids,
Right.
it's they do need, at least our children at these ages, they did need a whole lot of motivation. So learning to motivate them, through games, because at their ages, you can't can't really say, in 5 miles there's a store and we'll get you ice cream like that. They don't.
Yeah, 5 miles
That doesn't
might as
work.
well be like 2 years.
Yeah, it like yeah, it had to be very short-term goals or just really fun games, keeping it interesting for them, keeping it fun. Pretending to be like monsters and chasing them down the trail. They love that game. All kinds of stuff. They pretended to be riding horses down the trail or pretending to be motorcycles or airplanes. Just so many games. And the longer we were out there, the better we understood each of our children and what they needed and what would, motivate them. I feel like we learned a lot about who they were, who they are, and what they need on the trail. Yeah.
Totally. I can imagine that. It's an interesting thing doing those trips and trying to be introspective and find those things in yourself. But I can only imagine some of the transformation you must see in your own children doing something like that. Like 5.5 months, a kid can grow a lot in that time, let alone when you're with them 24/7, right?
Yeah, we get asked a lot, like what the trail did for them, and that's a really hard question to answer because yeah, their development is so fast at this age that I feel like it's hard to say if it was the trail that, maybe made them stronger. I mean, I feel like had we stayed home, they would have been, developmentally, doing really awesome stuff, maybe a little different, but still developing. I mean,
Sure.
I definitely don't feel like children need to go on a through hike. So it's really difficult to answer, what
Yeah.
exactly the trail did for them. But I do know that there was a huge shift in like our family dynamic and the way, the fact that we just spent all of our time together. I think that was just really special and was a really great opportunity to learn about us as parents and them as our children and what we can do to be better parents and have them thrive. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And totally true. I makes complete sense to me. And the other thing that's interesting about that too is your kids are young enough. What'd you say, 2, 3, and 5, or around there enough? Close enough?
Yeah.
That I don't know when my first memory was, but it's got to be somewhere maybe around there. I would have to think somewhere around 5 or something, maybe earlier. But it's just such an interesting thing with children in development, right? It's like you don't remember these things, but it's almost like they're still so important to your development as an adult. Yeah, I don't know what that necessarily means, but just kind of interesting, I guess.
Yeah, I think to me, we get this question asked a lot, like why not do it later when the kids can actually like remember? And to me, that's so silly because we didn't necessarily, like I said, I don't think our kids needed to through hike. I feel like me and my husband needed to do the through hike, and I think that's the key there is that me and my husband were doing something that would make us happy, and the kids therefore will be happy because they see their parents fulfilling their dreams. And that's so important, in my opinion, when you become a parent, to keep doing what is fun and to be a little selfish, because yeah, your kids are watching, and if you're not happy, going to the park every day and doing whatever else, then you need to make the change for your family to have a fulfilling life, so that your children understand what that means. Yeah, just really important.
Totally. Yeah, I totally agree, and can completely see that. And to piggyback on the original point too, is that I think there is something to be said for even not having remembering something, but that doesn't mean that like the years before that are, I don't know, to say it like flippantly, like throwaway years, right? It's like everything that happens before that time is still so important to the development, you know. So yeah, it's interesting. How about some of your favorite sections of the trail? What were some of the highlights as far as favorite sections of the trail, nature-wise or whatever it may be?
I love the whole PCT, nature-wise, but for us, the kids really thrived in the Sierra Nevada mountains. Just incredible. We were so lucky with this year. There wasn't too much snow, and despite entering the Sierras pretty early in the season, we were still able to get away with, getting through it safely with them. And there was enough snow to make it really fun for them. They all loved it, loved going through snow, sliding down. It was so much fun hiking through those mountains when there's some snow on the passes, and the water, so much water, and the water crossings, balancing on logs. I mean, they loved anything that was a little like unusual, I guess, where the beginning through the desert is just, pretty straightforward. You follow the trail. There's not really any obstacles. So the Sierras were like a huge shift in the hike where, there was huge mountain passes to go over, lots of water to cross, fun section for us.
How about any wildlife or any wildlife encounters or run-ins or sightings that come to mind?
Not really.
Yeah.
I think the kids are just too loud and
Sure.
they scare off. We saw like a coyote, I think it was. I don't know, from really far away. And that's about it, apart from like deer, squirrels, and birds. No bears. All the hikers around us seem to have bear sightings, and yeah, I'm pretty sure it was because we were just a really loud group, and
Sure.
yeah.
How about your like sleeping setup, and then kind of logistics of food and stops between resupplies and such?
Well, so we resupplied a lot more often than a usual through hiker would, probably like twice more than typical. We were only able to go maybe 40 miles comfortably at a time to carry all the food for everyone. So that was lots of planning around that. Lots of unusual ways to get into town, sometimes taking side trails and stuff to different roads and figuring that out.
Yeah, because I imagine 40 miles, that's there has to be sections of the PCT that are longer than 40 miles where it's tough to get to a town, I would have to imagine.
Yeah. So the Sierras were a great example of that. We actually had a friend help us out there and bring us food, because we really wanted to have. Yeah, so we had a friend bring us food. My parents dropped off food at a trailhead for us, and my husband went to go get it at one point. Yeah, lots of luckily we didn't really have to do too much of that. It was usually we could get away with handling everything ourselves and not having to like reach out for help. But the Sierra's definitely way too remote. And the fact that, we live pretty close and we know the area really well, we knew it helped a lot. Whereas like in Washington, when we got to Washington, we had to, make the really difficult decision to not hike through Washington because we looked at the map and just couldn't figure out how to resupply there. Whereas maybe someone who lives in the area and who knows those mountains well would, see a way to resupply. But we couldn't figure it out.
Sure.
So that really helped to be familiar with that section a lot. And as far as sleeping, we all slept in a 3-person tent with 2 double quilt bags. And that worked out really great with foam pads. We decided not to do like inflatable mattress because I feel like it would have popped and we didn't want to deal with that. And it was really nice to be able to all of us cuddle. I feel like the kids really, really enjoyed that.
How did they sleep in your room at home?
No, they have like bunk beds now.
Yeah, so that's different. I mean, obviously it's all different, but
yeah. We've co-slept with all of them. And don't mind like cuddling with our kids. We think it's great and they love it. So that worked out great for us.
Yeah. How about, was there anything that you were surprised at how well they took to?
I mean, everything. I think just the biggest surprise was, them being able to do the amount of miles that was necessary to do. Anything under 10 was kind of would have been too slow for us to be able to resupply and have all the necessary food. And in the desert, the water stretches, there was a couple over 20-mile stretches without water. So 2 days of carrying water for 2 days for all of us was a lot, but it was doable. Anything above that, I think we would have had to skip around a lot more. So seeing them, be able to push themselves to hike up to, I think 17 miles was the most that we did in a day was just incredible. Because at the beginning, the first 2 days, we did 8 miles. And, I remember talking with my husband and we were just like, we can't possibly, we can't continue if we're only hiking 8 miles a day. Like we have to do at least 10. And so I was really proud of them that they got hiker legs and we're able to put in the miles necessary.
Super impressive. Did you have anybody stay with you or hike with you through different sections? Anybody join you along the trail?
A little bit. Sometimes hikers would slow down, but that, just for a little bit, like maybe up to a mile. And we did have a reporter join us. That was really cool. And she wrote like an article about us and stuff. She was really awesome. She like fully immersed herself in our experience. She held hands with Joshua, our 3-year-old, who I was basically holding hands with for the first 700 miles, just coaching him through every step. And so when she joined us, she wanted to know what it felt like. And So she hiked with him, held hands with him
That's
to
funny.
really get an idea of like what we were actually experiencing out there. And then our oldest, Sequoia, was really into listening to stories. So she took over story time for a couple days, and yeah, I just found out what it actually takes to get these kids moving. Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
What do you have a highlight or any particular highlights that come to memory when you look back and you're like, wow, that day was awesome, or that moment was really neat, or anything along those lines?
Mm, I mean, that's a lot comes to my mind. I just keep going back to the Sierra Nevada mountains. Awesome feeling of being out there in like these incredibly um, intimidating mountains with these like, yeah, basically three toddlers was just like mind blowing that we were out there. The lakes were frozen. Um, yeah, and just seeing them running down the trail in those mountains was like, what are we doing? Like, this is insane. How are we doing this? Like, it was just such a dream.
That's neat. That's neat. What was your experience with camping in the outdoors growing up as a kid? Obviously, you said you hiked the PCT before. Yeah, what was your experience growing up?
Yeah, my parents, I mean, all my memories from my childhood are, outdoors, uh, hiking, biking, swimming, just, I really feel like my parents put in a lot of work to keep us outdoors and to focus a lot on nature. We did a lot of like camping, even backpacking, with very different gear, much different. And I love looking back on those memories, and yeah, that's kind of why I knew that that was really important to me to pass that along to our kids. And yeah, I feel like I just feel really comfortable in nature, and I think that's really important to have that experience if someone wants to, take their kids on some sort of adventure of this like magnitude, is that you have some sort of foundation that you feel outdoors on trail by yourself, and yeah, so that you're able to take care of not just yourself but also children. And ever since our Sequoia was born, we took her. She's been on so many trips of all types. Yeah, day hikes, backpacking, camping. We really made an effort with like small short-term goals, and worked our way up to bigger things. Yeah, and that really helped.
What other trips throughout your life have been on kind of the highlight list? Obviously, PCT with the family, PCT solo seems like it must have been on the highlight list if it inspired a family trip.
Yeah, definitely. That was a incredible experience.
What any other interesting trips that you hark back on and you're like, oh, that was a fun one, or that was a cool place?
Um, it was really cool to take Sequoia when she was 15 months. We took her uh, and did the Tahoe Rim Trail, which is I think 165 miles around Lake Tahoe, and that was kind of like the first moment when we realized like, oh, this like through hike through hiking stuff might be possible. And then a month later, we did the Jommer Trail with her, and we had a lot of support and help from my dad and some friends from Czech Republic that came out and hiked with us. And so it was like a group, and that was really awesome too. After, with Joshua and Sequoia, we did the Timberline Trail in Oregon, and that was a really difficult trip.
I don't think I've heard of
Joshua
that one
was
before.
Huh?
I said I don't think I've heard of that one before.
Yeah, it's just I think it's only like 40 miles,
Okay,
but
awesome.
it may have been harder doing that trip. We were carrying both kids, and our packs must have weighed more than they did on the PCT. I mean, it was absolutely insane, the amount of weight we were carrying. And but yeah, just a really awesome trip. Yeah.
Very cool. What do you have? So you're a month off of trail. Are you got any post trail blues, or is everybody settled in pretty seamlessly?
I feel, yeah, I'm a little sad. I was definitely having a really hard time for like 2 weeks. Now I feel more settled. Yeah, it's really, I don't know. I find it really difficult to adjust back to, yeah, and maybe that's because I didn't have anything to come back to, like some sort of like solid plan. I feel like that might have helped me, but yeah, it was just kind of like, okay, like my husband's going back to work, and now I'm doing the same stuff I was doing like before the trail. That's really difficult to come back to, because you have this transformative experience, and then you go back and you're in the exactly same spot as you were before, and it kind of makes everything seem unreal in some way. Just working towards more stuff, dreaming again about future stuff, and the kids really helped, because with the transition, they don't seem to have the same, like, yeah, they're just really happy. They're just happy to be home. They were happy on the trail. Yeah, they transitioned seamlessly. I see no difference in them. They're just like stoked on whatever comes their way.
That's great. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, that the feeling of transitioning, and always easier said than done. But yeah, it's all about like finding those little windows where you can either take the memory back, or like take some of the lessons learned from the trip, and realize that you're unknowingly applying them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hey, thanks so much for chatting. I really enjoyed talking with you, and learning about the hike of the Daleys. Any last thoughts or anything else you'd like to share? You're on Instagram, I know, at Daily Walk. Is that right?
Yeah, Daley walk. Yeah. Nowhere else. I'm not too great with the online world. I'm trying to learn, but yeah, not too great.
Cool. Well, any other thoughts or?
No, just, yeah, thank you so much for taking the time to talk. Yeah. I love talking about our trip and stuff, and yeah, hopefully it reaches some people that can feel inspired.
Yeah.
It gives me so much purpose and joy to have people reach out and, say that they were inspired to take their kids on a little hike or something, and yeah, just get outdoors with their kids. Yeah, yeah, that's awesome to hear.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more, and I'm sure this will do that. So, hey, thanks for taking the time to chat. And there you have it, episode 59 of Buffalo Roamer Outdoors with Marketa Daley, hiking the PCT with her family. You can follow her on Instagram at Daily Walk. That's DALEY Walk. Great follow there. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you're subscribed if you're enjoying the podcast. 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcast or Spotify really helps us out. So go ahead and do that if you're enjoying it. BuffaloRoamer.com for more information, for stories of adventure. I got blogs about a Mississippi River through paddle, the Yukon River through paddle, fishing. There's merch for sale at BuffaloRoamer.com, all that stuff. So check it out. Go enjoy the outdoors, and we will talk to you with more stories of adventure later.